This animation now shows the opening of the hatch to the Pirs docking compartment. Misurkin will be first out as extravehicular crew member number 1, EV1.
Let's try to do.
Shkaplerov will follow him as EV2, but Shkaplerov also is wearing an Orlan suit bearing blue stripes. Both crew members will have blue stripes on their suits. Once they're outside, the two will translate to the very end of the Zvezda service module to begin to set up shop at the work site that they'll be spending almost the entire 6-hour and 30-minute spacewalk at. They'll make their way to the very top of the aft end of the service module as they work at that Lira high-gain antenna. A tool will be inserted to basically unlock the antenna so that ground controllers in Korolyov can send commands to enable the antenna to fold from its deployed position to what is called a launch position, the position it was in when the module was launched back in July of 2000. At that point, Shkaplerov and Misurkin then can go to work demating a number of connectors and cables to set the stage for the removal of the old electronics box that the antenna operates through. And again, there's the box itself. Shkaplerov and Misurkin will work together to lift 2 launch locks that hold that electronics box in place. There are a series of cables, connectors, and waveguide assemblies that have to be deconnected. They'll be using a variety of tools to do all of that work, as you can see in this animation.
LEDs showing that the camera is down.
The crew will be receiving updates from the Russian flight controllers as they make their way through their timeline as to when they'll be moving in darkness and again in daylight as the International Space Station orbits the Earth. Again, we're talking about some dozen or so different connectors and cables and protective plates that have to be removed on this old box. Once the box is removed, it will be jettisoned to the aft retrograde from the International Space Station. This box weighs about 60 pounds on the Earth. So that jettisoning of the old box will set the stage for the installation of the new box that basically will be connected the same way that the old box was disconnected, as Misurkin and Shkaplerov hook up all of those cables and the waveguide transmission assembly once again. And after they conduct all of that tedious activity, then they will bolt everything back in place, and ground controllers then will be able to send the commands to deploy the Lira high-gain antenna once again into its operational position.
On my go. Copy, on your go.
Можем пока начинать работать по шагу 9.1. Контроль исходного положения органов управления.
Выполняем 9.1. Итак, Антон, прием-экран отключен. Хорошо, регулятор основной, баллон основной. Так.
And again, you can see in this animation the commanding from the Russian flight control team that would once again deploy the Lira high-gain antenna to its operational position. You can see that circular port at the very aft end of the service module. That's the docking port to which visiting Russian vehicles link up to. Once the Lira high-gain antenna has been deployed, it will be locked in place through that tool that Misurkin and Shkaplerov will use. And at the completion of that activity, the crew then will begin to gather all of its tethers and equipment and make their way back towards the Pirs docking compartment. Should time permit, there are a few get-ahead tasks on the docket for the two spacewalkers. Again, low-priority tasks to take exterior photography of the Russian segment of the station. We'll have to wait and see how they move along on their timeline to see whether or not time will permit them to conduct that get-ahead work. They also will wipe down each other's suits to make sure that they're not carrying any foreign debris back inside the airlock. A couple of towels will be used to wipe each other down. Those also will be jettisoned retrograde from the aft end of the service module. The analysis that has been done with both the jettisoning of the old electronics box for the high-gain antenna and these two towels indicates no chance for any of those objects to recontact the International Space Station. Once the two crew members are back inside Pirs, they'll close the hatch, and that will mark the official end of today's spacewalk.